The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet.
Welcome back to the Final Furlong podcast. Happy Easter. We're going to preview the Irish Grand National meeting for you on Friday. But before that, on Friday, all-weather finals day. We'll preview it in the company of one of our favourite pundits, Adam Mills. Before that, we're going to look back on some of the classic trials we've just seen in Newmarket, Adam, and it seems as though Juddmonte are just cleaning up left, right and centre. They've got a strong hand for the 1,000 guineas and an even stronger hand for the 2,000 guineas. Who do they want to win it with? Jonquil or the hugely impressive Field of Gold? Put up on the podcast by me at 5-1. Thank you very much. He was never in danger today.
No, he wasn't. And as we said on Monday, Juddmonte have got a really strong hand on the 3-year-old colts this year. Still couldn't tell you really which one of the three will go where, but I would imagine after the way Field of Gold ran today, he deserves to be the 2,000 guineas favourite. He has to be their most likely runner in the race. And everything could have gone wrong for him today. Really good ride by Kieran Newmarket. He was caught on the rail. The horses in front of him were going to stop. He had the foresight to think, despite races, I'm going to come off this rail because these two in front aren't going to take me into the race. And then when Wimbledon Hawkeye veered slightly away from the stick, went across to his right, and that left the gap, and this horse just flew through that gap. Within 3 strides, he was in front, hit the rising ground hard, really fast run out speed. Boy, that was really impressive. I thought Jonquil was good, and I thought Cosmic Year was good, but I think Field of Gold is probably £5 better than them. It's going to take an exceptional horse to beat him in the 2,000 guineas. I don't know whether I'd take the 3-1. There's always the risk that something that we haven't seen yet emerges. I think he was sort of 10s at the start of the week. I wish I had a bit of that now, to be honest. But if you're kind of looking through that, you think he's 3-1, so he's taking 25% of the market. Twain is 5-1. I'd argue Field of Gold has achieved more than Twain on the track so far. I don't think that French form is anywhere near the strength of the Craven today. So the right horses were second and third. Whether or not Wimbledon Hawkeye and Amori City have run to their rating, I'm not sure, but both of them could have finished closer if the closing stages had panned out differently. So I think they've got pretty close to it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
As we said on Monday, if you could back, if I knew which way round it go, I'd just back the Juddmonte horses for the guineas. And there's kind of a scenario here where if they split the 3 of them up, they could win all 3. They could easily win the Pouliches if they went that way with Cosmic Year, which is what sounds like Harry Charlton wanted to do because he's hoping that the ground will be slightly softer in Paris. And then you could maybe go to Ireland with Jonquil and run Field of Gold here. I'm not sure quite how they'd work it. I guess as a team, they've got to sit down and decide what their pecking order is. And maybe you'd imagine the Newmarket race will be the strongest of the 3. So there might be a case made for we want to throw 2 darts at that. But, I mean, this was really impressive. Those final 2 furlongs today, when he went through that gap and went up the hill, I don't think anything in that Craven is going to reverse the form. So that wipes half of his rivals out. And therefore, 3-1, I'd imagine he'll probably be maybe 5-2 on the day, something like that. So it's only price that puts me off, but I think he's going to be very hard to beat.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's not going to be that much shorter, I don't think. I can't imagine, maybe 9-4, maybe. But you'd nearly rather take 9-4 or 5-2 on the day knowing he's there and what the ground conditions are, as opposed to taking 3-1 now. It makes sense, though, that he is this price because that was wildly impressive. Everything went wrong, and he still managed to go around the race. And also, covering the race on TalkSport 2 today, most of the winners were coming up the Golden Highway and were ridden prominently. He did neither because things didn't pan out for him in the way that he wanted him to. And yet he still had the turn of foot to be able to go and win very impressively. The horses he beat have no chance of turning that form around. Not a hope.
No.
Things went right for them. It didn't go right for him, and he still managed to bury them. What do you make of the Godolphin horses so far? Because they've got Ruling Court, who was very impressive in Maidan. They've got Shadow of Light. I'd have a question mark about him. 1, training on, and 2, really staying a mile. I think they might be better off going down the sprinting route with him. But they're drifting like barges, and they're running accordingly. Like you mentioned to me before we came on air, Amori City was favourite this morning, or at least he was a top price 5-1 when I was looking at it at 11 a.m. 9-2, I think.
Yeah.
And he's drifted all the way out to 9s.
This is I think there's several reasons for it. I think the Dubai form doesn't really seem to be translating this season, whereas it has in the past. But we've seen with the likes of Ottoman Fleet getting turned over in a race that he's won for the last 2 years. Persica's a very good horse, but I don't think anyone thinks Persica's 125 horse and he's dispatched of it. Just a sense maybe with Godolphin that they're not quite ready. I also think there's a slight change of plan, that they seem very US focused these days.
Yeah.
And if there isn't a standout Guineas horse, it's kind of, we'll use these and we'll see where we are. And, I'm sure if Amori City had won today, then they'd be all ahead for the Guineas. But if not, we shall see. It's kind of goes against my logic, but there's a Godolphin runner tomorrow in the conditions race called Anno Domini, who I've had on my radar since the Futurity. I thought he was a Guineas horse. He's in the Irish Guineas. I'll be interested to see how he runs because he has got Group 1 form as a juvenile. But I guess the strange thing is it's not like Shape Mo needs the money. So it's not like watching a JP McManus horse in a handicap hurdle where, if JP's got one in a handicap hurdle, it drifts to 40-1, you can go, yeah, well, obviously that's winning another day, JP. Whereas with the Godolphin ones, it's just a general market confidence around them. But I guess sometimes with the boys in blue, they're being priced like they were the operation that they were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure they're in the same headspace now. I think a lot of focus goes into that Dubai Carnival still. A lot of focus goes into the turf races in the US. And although they won the Guineas last year, I think that was because Notable Speech surprised them rather than them thinking we've got a real genuine top-class horse on our hands. So some of their horses are running really flat. The ground certainly went against a couple of the fillies they ran yesterday. So you might want to put a line through that, but I'd be very cautious. I think sometimes their horses are priced based on the colours that they wear rather than what they've actually shown on the track.
Mm. They're very enthusiastic about them as well. It's always like, oh yeah, this is great. Oh, we're so excited. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Like the last couple of seasons, Charlie Appleby's horses have been in good form at the beginning of the season, great form at the end, and absolutely running like drains throughout the middle of the season. 2 years since he's had a winner at Royal Ascot. The only Godolphin winners they've had have been Said Ben Sarur. And he gets nothing. He gets the cast-offs. He gets the cast-offs of the cast-offs. That's what he gets. And he still manages to win on Dubai World Cup night and produce a few winners here and there. So, I don't know. Are you super enthusiastic about Desert Flower and the 1,000 Guineas? Because I'm not.
To be honest, I'm not super enthusiastic about anything in the 1,000 Guineas at this stage. I think it's a little bit open. Lake Victoria would stand out a sore thumb, and if she gets the mile comfortably, I think if she arrives in her 2-year-old form, she wins. We spoke about Zaragana the other day. I think she's very good. There's a lot of nice fillies in France, but no, I wouldn't be. I won't be in a rush to back a Godolphin filly for a classic at this stage.
No, me neither. So Field of Gold, really, really good. We'll talk more about this. Oh, well, will we? We'll be building up to... It's Easter. We've got Bank Holiday Monday. We've got Easter Monday to look forward to. We're going to be previewing the Grand National meeting, and we'll probably be looking back then at Ferry House as well. But we'll just briefly touch on Zanzoun. Another one for the Gosdens. So the Gosden team tend to be a little bit quiet at this time of year. A little bit like the opposite of Charlie Appleby. He tends to be good now, then dip. Gosden tends to be quiet now, then roars into life around Irish Guineas meeting, does really well at Royal Ascot, and then just dominates throughout the rest of the season. But they have hit the ground running. He's taken the Nelgwen, he's taken the Craven. He might very well take a whole lot more between now and then. But it sounds like she's not going to go to Newmarket. It sounds like she's off to the French 1,000 Guineas.
Yeah, the Gosden team, I think today was the first time they won the Craven in 32 years, which perhaps shows you kind of how far ahead they are of their normal scope. I thought she did really well in the conditions yesterday. I think the rain really got into that ground. That was the slowest winning time in the last 20 years in that race. So we've got to take those conditions into account. The ground in Paris is still relatively quick at the moment, but there's probably more chance that it's soft there than it will be at Newmarket. I don't think Paris Longchamp drains in here as well. It was interesting to hear John Gosden sort of refer to we don't want to come and take on Lake Victoria, which would suggest they kind of have a good handle on where they think their fillies are in relation to her. Longchamp should suit, but I felt like this race kind of everything went perfectly for her. Handled the conditions really well, hit the line really well, fastest final furlong, all very good. But the second had been off since July, had to race on the far side to make her ground, came from the rear, did a lot, was in the wrong place and still got pretty close. The third raced on its own, on the stand side, all the way around Remart. So I'm just not, I'd be cautious with that form, and she'd need to prove that she can do it again. I don't think that was the strongest Nell Quinn, and yet she's won it quite impressively, but it might just need a bit of caution because of what happened with the ground.
Yeah, I think that sums it up perfectly. And the fact that she's not going to be going to Newmarket, at least as things stand, is something to consider as well. I don't know. Emma Nagle was at the Ballydoyle Open Day, and she was saying that apparently now it's all turned around and Lake Victoria is going to go for the 1,000 guineas. I'm like, wait, what? What? We were being told no. Like, what's going on there? It was Colts weren't going to go. Expanded wasn't going to go. Oh no, he's going to go now. Lake Victoria wasn't going to go. Oh no, she's going to go. So we're going to have to get in touch with the man himself and talk to him on the podcast, hopefully in the next week or two, and hear it from the horse's mouth, because it's been very confusing. There's just all kinds of different stable tours you read, and it's like, wait, what? But if she lines up, if she's good to go, and she's trained on, I don't see any reason why she wouldn't have. Whoosh, good night and good luck.
Well, I think that must be also in his thinking. It's not like Aidan looking at his 1,000 guineas and thinking, Christ, look at all this opposition we're going to take on, because all the opposition have spent the last 9 months taking it in turns to beat each other.
Yeah.
And he knows Lake Victoria is the best. So if she's showing enough at home, I think it's too... The Broodmare CV with the 1,000 guineas win on it is worth taking the risk for. And I don't even think she needs to have improved, as long as she's trained on okay over the winter. If she rocks up in the same form that she was in the autumn, she'll win. Because everything in here is either held on form or they look like they want 10 furlongs already.
Okay, shall we do a Newmarket Classic anti-post special in the next few, maybe early next week?
Yeah, let's get this Newmarket meeting out of the way, and we can certainly have a good go at working out what's going where. If you could get on the phone to Aidan and get him to just tell us which ones he's going to run in which race, that'd be great.
I've just cracked it. You know what we can do?
Yeah.
Let's do Newmarket Guineas Yes No Game Show.
Okay.
Barry Doyle! Barry Doyle, the call's going out, Barry. Call's going out. Katie, call's going out. Georgie Gorman. Book your seats now. Yes No Game Show Guineas special coming soon. Final Front podcast. Okay. Anything else to wrap up before we start talking about the multiple all-weather... It's 3 all-weather meetings on Good Friday. 3 all-weather meetings on Good Friday.
Well, I guess we should touch and give a little bit of support to Dan Skelton, who is doing everything in his possible power to hold off the Willie Mullins juggernaut.
Some crack today.
See the look on his face of like,
we
won the Grade 2, and there's just this little bit of hope. And
there's a man who really learned from Paul Nicholls. He was giving it the proper Nicholls celebration in the winners' enclosure. We were covering that race on TalkSport 2. I love to see it. Love to see it.
I think something that I think is worth noting is it's not necessarily about Dan Skelton's horse finishing in front of Willie's. It's the fact of, in all these big prizes, everyone else is effectively running for Dan Skelton. So in the opening race, Willie has 2 in the novice hurdle. Lucy Wadham's Jacks Jr. is a very nice horse in his own right, but him winning just takes another couple of grand off of Willie. It's not about looking at things like the Bet365 Gold Cup and thinking Willie's got 7. It's also worth thinking this is a 24-runner race. And if any of the other 17 runners win, that's a point for Dan Skelton.
Yeah.
So it isn't impossible. John Bond's going, so that probably takes out another Grade 1 that Willie can't win. I mean, as we'll come to in the show later in the week, the Plumpton on Sunday looks one of the best meetings I can ever remember at Plumpton. We've got a county hurdle winner in the Sussex Champion Hurdle. What is going on?
Kenny Alexander.
Race.
Kenny Alexander in the background going, wait, was this always the plan, Willie? Yes, of course it was. Of course it was the plan.
Yeah.
You're just the owner, mate. You're just the owner. Yeah. Stop asking questions.
Exactly. When I told you, Kenny, that she'd win a Champion Hurdle, it was the Sussex Champion Hurdle that I was talking about. I don't know where you got this Cheltenham idea from, son.
Cheltenham,
but it is just worth thinking, kind of thinking to myself today, kind of, where's the maths coming from? But actually, it's a really good point to remember that, if Cargies goes for that Sussex Champion Hurdle, I think it's £75,000 race. There's also Joy Ewers in that field, who's the Betfair Hurdle winner.
Yeah.
William Hill Hurdle, whatever it's called. Every time Willie doesn't win a race, Dan Skelton is picking up and holding on. He leads 27,000. It is going to come down to Sandown. And sadly, if Willie has the 1, 2, 3 in the Bet365, it's over. But at least there's a bit of fight this year. You can see Dan's thinking, I can just keep slipping away, and if he could get 40 grand in front of him, he'd have the outside chance. The problem is there are only 3 really valuable races left to run, and Dan Skelton has nothing to throw at them.
Yeah.
So he's got to do it the old-fashioned way of grind out the points at Foss Lass and at Perth next week and anywhere else he can to pick up 3 or 4 grand. But this afternoon was the first time I thought, it's not like Dan Skelton's not $1 million to do this.
Did you read the article in the Racing Post Weekend? It was like, why is the Trainers' Championship decided on prize money? It should be decided on points. It should be the number of wins that the trainers had. This is ludicrous. Are the BHA planting the seeds? Yes, by the way, we're just going to change the rules now.
Well, I don't think they need to change the rules. I think the simplest solution to this is just to take the Grand National out and say the Grand National, which is the most valuable race on the calendar by distance and is having far too much impact on the Trainers' Championship. And just say, you know what, the Train Championship is everything else apart from the race, the Grand National. And if you just exempt the Grand National from the Trainer Championship, it's a much fairer contest.
You can't do that.
Well, you're an Irishman. You're saying that.
No. You can't do that. Paul Nicholls was trailing Nicky Henderson, and then, that's blown him out of the water. So how is it okay for Paul Nicholls to win the Grand National, and the Scottish Grand National for that matter, but not okay for an Irishman to do it? You can't do that.
Well, you have free movement throughout the EU. You've got to give us something, Emmet.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think moving it to wins is the solution, though, because you move it to wins, it's still only two trainers who could win it.
Yeah.
Because no one else has the number of horses. And,
well, the reason,
you can't really...
my understanding is the reason that they do it this way and not the way it's done for the jockeys is that the perception is if you're riding that amount of winners, you're probably riding a Grade 1 winner anyway.
Yeah.
So that has to be counted on winners. But you don't want you and me becoming trainers and deciding, you know what we'll do? We'll just get a bunch of low-grade horses. We'll win the lowest caliber of race possible. We'll keep farming out these low-grade horses to win those races. And then, look, we're a champion trainer. Brilliant.
Well, I think that a jockey's job is to ride winners and a trainer's job is to earn as much prize money for an owner as possible. So... And if you can't really introduce a point system, because then you'll have trainers looking and going, well, this race at Suffolk's worth 15 points. But instead, if I wait 2 weeks, there's a race at Market Rasen worth 20 points. It will be so complicated. And ultimately, the problem is this system isn't fair anyway. The guy's complaining at the top. If you're saying, well, what about the next tier down? Plenty of very capable trainers who have strings of 20 or 30 and whose strike rate is much higher and whose performance and with what they get from the resources they get is superb. But the likes of Lucinda Russell, for example, can't possibly win a trainer's title because she simply doesn't have the bulk ammunition to throw at these Saturday races. There is no solution to it. And it's not, eventually, Willie is not going to win the next 20 renewals of the Grand National.
Exactly.
There will come a year when he doesn't win it. And then, it's all swings and roundabouts. Dan Skelton has taken the mantle from Nicky Henderson and Paul Nicholls. He is the best trainer in the UK.
Yeah.
He's had an exceptional season. But equally, Dan Skelton, by my count, has won two, 3 Grade 1s, no more than that. The New Lions won a couple. Grey Dawning's run well in a few races. Protectorate's run well in a few races. Look at what Willie Mullins did at Cheltenham and Aintree. Look how many owners Willie Mullins has trained Grade 1s for. Don't tell me Willie doesn't deserve to be champion trainer.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Even the Paul Nicholls Grade 1s have come for the same owners. Johnny Delahaye is somewhere in the background going, oh God, what's going on? It's Alex Ferguson and Jed Mason are the ones who are getting the Grade 1 wins. So, yeah. It's going to be intriguing. It's going to be very, very intriguing. Also, system, in case you haven't copped it on yet. For some reason, I don't know whether Michael Stout's horses were just wrong last season or what was going on, but they're all winning for new trainers now. All of them are. And Adam just told me that Passenger is now with George Scott. And I spotted this morning he's gelded. Didn't know where he's gone. Adam was able to tell me, oh no, he's gone to George Scott. So get excited for him coming back. And if you're seeing first run for a trainer, Sir Michael Stout, just plow in. Can't get beat. They're all bolted up. It's ridiculous. All right. I don't think there's any horse that fits that category for all-weather finals day, but let's go through the runners as we have them. The BetMGM Burden Stakes, the listed race over a mile. This is a really, really competitive race. Should Royal Playwright be this short? I don't think so. He's 5-4. Oisin Murphy, Andrew Balding, team are in great form. Glittering Legend for James Franchos, 130. Beaumark, really interesting runner for the Gosdens. Kieran Schumacher, 4-1. Titanian Emperor, who was impressive on the all-weather at Dundalk, 6-1. And Michael Schofield, named after the famous TV character. Ross Orion rides for Michael O'Callaghan. And I was at the launch of the Curras Flat season, and Michael specifically highlighted this horse, saying he's not eligible for any of the Irish incentive scheme races, so we're going to the UK, and we are going to all-weather finals day. And I thought initially he was saying, he sounded pretty bullish about him, basically, is the point. I'll just get cut straight to it. He was pretty bullish about this Tis the Law. He's a 16-1 shot. So, does he have a chance? And who do you like?
This is a really good race. I mean, the one thing I would say about this is it seems bizarre to me that we have all-weather championships day where every other race on the card is very valuable, but all the horses have to qualify for it. They have to run a certain number of times on the all-weather or win a fast-track qualifier, except the opening race, when we'll just wedge a listed race in. It doesn't really seem very fair to me the way to work it, but that's just my little race. And I'm quite against, I think Royal Playwright is far too short.
Agreed.
This was a really trappy race. There's some really good improvers in here. Michael Schofield was definitely interesting. Racing at Southwell. He beat Gunship at Southwell. Gunship is Qatar Racing's Derby entry. Gunship kind of threw the race away a little bit in that he didn't really have the turn of foot. And Southwell is one of those tracks that you need to be rocking and rolling in the third furlong when you turn for home, and he wasn't. But he's won both starts, Michael Schofield. He certainly shouldn't be underestimated 18-1. I thought he was the pace angle in this race.
Yeah.
And I thought everything else would fit around him. But I do want to stick with Beaumark. I thought his debut at Kempton was really good. Now, that race had 110% finishing speed. It was a bit stop-start, and it suited the way that he was positioned at the front. But in the final furlong, when the turbo was turned on, he's pulled 4 lengths clear. The field in behind is probably a little bit hit and miss. But this horse has got a Dante entry. His dam was Bound, who won a listed race for Aidan O'Brien over 10, and she's a half-sister to Serpentine, the Derby winner. Everything in his pedigree suggests stamina. I thought this was a really good spot by the Gosden team. We've got their 3-year-olds rocking and rolling already this season. A stiff finish at Newcastle should suit. If he's going to run in the Dante, he's got to be beating these all-weather types. And I think 4-1 is a price.
He would have been an absolute stone cold certainty to carry a penalty to victory. The fact that they're throwing him into a listed race means he doesn't have to worry about that. And I agree with you. I'm very interested in Michael Schofield to see what he does. And 18-1, he might end up in some sort of scumbag multiple bet. But Beaumark for me, storm clear, travelled beautifully, storm clear on his first run, sure to progress. And the pedigree tells you all you need to know as well. Gosdens won this race back in 2021, so they know what's involved, and their horses are in flying form. To the 6 furlong BetMGM all-weather 3-year-old championships handicap. So darn hot for Kevin Philippart Defoy, with Warren Fenton claiming £5, a very valuable £5. Will rematch with Combine Harvester, who he beat the last day. He was sort of average on debut, was gelded, but then at his next 6 subsequent starts, he's never been out of the first 3. And he's won 3 of his last 4 starts. Combine Harvester has come out and franked the form by winning the next day, and they're going to reoppose. I like him. Who are you with?
Oh, this is a hideous race. As a punter, this is all their finals day is fantastic. But when you look at this, you think, geez, I mean, this race took me a good 3 hours to sit and watch all the replays. I think it's a big field. Which side of the draw do I want to be? It would be tiny stakes for me. I can see the case for So Darn Hot. I think he should be favourite. But I actually really like Berkshire Whisper for Andrew Balding and Oisin Murphy. So 3 goes, been on the go quite a lot this winter. Started on the 5th of January. They've had 3 runs, gone straight into handicap company here. The debut behind Megaphone worked out really well. Megaphone won at Wolverhampton under a penalty next time. Won his next start, and I'm not sure really whether he's beaten anything of great note, and he didn't need to improve to win a 4-runner novice here, but he really lengthened in the closing stages. Got a nice big stride, 7.48 metres was his average stride in the final furlong. I thought a mark of 89 looked very fair. And it felt to me like the latest run was taken on the basis, if we run in this and we get a handicap mark, we can go to all-weather finals day. So we may as well find a race at Newcastle over course and distance, whatever it is. Seemed an odd thing for a long way to go for a race on a Saturday afternoon at Newcastle. That just felt a bit strange. Why would you go all the way up there for $3,500 in a 4-runner race unless you had Newcastle as the plan? The way he hit the line, I thought 10-1 was a bit big, but you could make a case for nearly half the field. It is a really, really competitive race.
Okay, 10-1 is widely available, and that is included with Jeff Banks Bet. And if you sign up now, you can get 10% of any net losses back after your first 3 months of betting, up to £500. Sign up now using your promo code FFP500 and get 10% of any net losses back after your first 3 months of betting, up to £500. If it doesn't go well for you this weekend, don't worry, you're getting 10% of it back. Courtesy of Jeff Banks Bet, FFP500, jeffbanks.bet, and you can then stream this race meeting at Newcastle all-weather finals day on the Jeff Banks app, including all British and Irish racing as well, and there's loads of other goodies there for you too. jeffbanks.bet, use your promo code FFP500, take advantage now. I didn't spend 3 hours in this race, you did, so I'm going to go with you. And Berkshire Whisper, that's the end. The second you said 3 hours, what the fuck? That's the end of that for me. I would just add in that whether you want to buy into this stuff or not, and there was an article in the Racing Post about how does trends don't matter and statistical performances of what's happened before, it doesn't matter. Okay, Charlie. 22 times Andrew Balding and Oisin Murphy have teamed up at the course. They've won 11. So they got a 50% strike rate at the track. That's enough to sway me as well. But your compelling case is the real one. The BetMGM Fillies and Mares Championship handicap over 7 furlongs sees cloud cover. First run after a wind up. Night of Thunders are going great guns. Does she quite deserve to be as short as 5-4 though? 6-4. Jeff Banks Bet will give you 6-4.
I don't want to oppose her. I'd looked through this and thought, she won it last year. She's won a listed race at Deauville on the all-weather in December. And the race she won in January, let's be honest, it was a particularly weak race for 45 grand. The second and third aren't really setting the world alight, but she bolted up. She absolutely cantered through. The jockey didn't move a muscle. She's clearly been lined up for this. 7 wins on the all-weather. She's probably a bit short, should you take, in a field of 14, would you really want to be taking 5-4, 6-4? I'm not sure, but I really struggled to see where the sort of potential £10 improvement was going to come from to come past her. She deserved a rating of 103. She's had a wind up. She's won it last year. We know she handles the track. She bolted up last time. There's so much to like that if I had to have a bet in the race, I'd rather take 6-4 on her than I would anything else.
Does this look a weaker race to you than last year?
A little bit. I mean, the point I would kind of make is if you look away from cloud cover, you're starting to look at horses and think, what is their win ratio like? How do they get on? The third favourite is Aramis Gray, who's a very nice horse, but she's had 55 starts. And, she hasn't won in any of her last 10. She's starting to struggle to get her head in front. Powdering, potentially. excuse me, could improve. She's won a couple of races, but if you look at powdering, she's been beaten in Class 4 handicaps at Wolverhampton and Southall. She did manage to win at Southall in March in the small race. You know, there are handicappers here who are being competitive off their marks, and then there's Cloud Cover in December and won a listed race. In fourth that day was Samadi Rien, who's been running very well in the Middle East at Meydan. She's beaten proper French horses, and she's beaten them quite cosily. That form is miles better than these. And although she's got weight to concede all round, she's conceding weight for a reason, because she's a 100-plus mare and nothing else is. Just couldn't find anything in here that made me think, oh, yeah, there's a real chance you're going to improve. Everything is relatively exposed. They're all rated between 75 and 80, except for her.
Yeah.
And even with the weight, at some point in handicaps, weight becomes just class. Class outweighs the weight you're having to give away. And if there's going to be a favourite that you'd want running for you on the day, it would definitely be her.
Well, she's pro form top rated and pro form top rated by quite some way. So I know she was 10-1 in the race a year ago. You're not getting anywhere even approaching that now, but she should win. She's probably just one for the multiples. 3 o'clock is the BetMGM All-Weather Championships Mile. It's a Class 2. And we got a max field of 14. Roy de France, Roisin Murphy, and the Gosdens, who are conquering all at the moment, is favourite. Was disappointing on the all-weather when sent off favourite the time before. The form with Poker Face, poor old fella, that does read very well in the context of this race. He's 4-1. Storm Star, 6s. 2 from 2 on his last couple of starts. Destructive for Michael Bell, Hector Crouch, 13-2. Kingdom Come for the Clive Cox team with Ross Ryan on board, 8s. And then Symbol of Light for Julie Camacho is a 10-1 shot. What are your thoughts?
Well, this is the ultimate kind of, do you want to take the established form or do you want to take the improvers? And you've got to pick which side of the fence you're on. Roy de France has very good form and is probably worthy of his rate of 104. He runs for the Gosdens. Stall 16 kind of put me off a little bit. I thought he could get trapped in the wrong place there. Equally speaking, the horse I like is Kingdom Come, who was pretty unlucky in that Lincoln trial. His earlier form was okay. I thought he was coming to the boil. But again, he's not like he's got anything in hand off his mark on 103. I think he'll run his race. I think he'll run a nice race. But he is open and vulnerable to the improvers. Of those two improvers, it's obviously between Storm Star and Destructive. And the good news is they're all drawn around each other in the high draws. That's where the race is going to develop. Of the two, I much prefer Storm Star. I thought he has improved rapidly this winter. I really liked the way he hit the line last time. Beat Fantastic Fox and Dragon Icon. I think that's quite solid form. Andrew Balding doesn't come here for nothing. I just felt like Storm Star might make up into a group horse, and I'm not sure there's that many in this field who could take that step. So I thought around 13-2, he was worth chancing.
So Storm Star is going to be your pick?
Yeah, I think we'll go with Storm Star, but it would be a tentative pick in it between the two. But I think he's the more open to improvement.
Yeah, does the fact that Kingdom Come keeps missing the kick, or at least he did the last day, is that a concern for you as well?
It is a concern, especially at Newcastle. The problem with Kingdom Come really is if you miss the kick at Newcastle in a full field, you are going to be behind a wall of horses.
Yeah.
And there isn't, when you miss the kick at somewhere like Wolverhampton or Lingfield, because you've got the bends, you know the field is going to shrink down. And it's going to shrink to 2 or 3 wide. And if you've missed ground and you want to go prominent, you can go around the outside. On a straight course, do that. Because even if the field heads towards the stand side rail, they're going to be 5 wide. If you're dropped in behind that, it takes a very brave and, in my opinion, very foolish jockey to try and go down the centre on his own. If you're slowly away, you're going to be tucked in behind. And if you're in behind on that inside rail, how many times do you see replays of racing at Newcastle where the horse that finishes 5th is full of running, but the 4 in front of him are stopping and they're so compacted that there's no way around them? It is a worry, which kind of is why I wanted to take the improver. Kingdom Come, you would have to back him win only, because he is just going to be a really difficult ride. If he breaks on terms, great. But if he doesn't break on terms again, then it's going to become a real concern. And for that reason, I thought that the improvers were more likely to do their job.
What did you make of Valiant Force? He beat the big Gossie, he's placed at the Curragh, but then come out and beat Camille Pizarro, an officer.
This is the weird thing about all the championship days. You've got all these qualifiers in the UK, and you try and work out who's going where, and everyone kind of forgets about it on a Friday night, and you might have a little 10p each way, lucky 15 for a bit of interest. But no one really concentrates too much on how it might affect the all-weather championships. Valiant Force has certainly got the form. I think last time he proved that he definitely stays the mile trip. That form with Big Gossie's pretty good. The only sort of thing that would, in one way, I'm put off by the way that he ran in the Hever Stakes, but Clarendon House won that. I'm not really sure that the sprint track at Southall suited.
Yeah.
And I think, Southall is a weird track. I personally really find it very hard to work out what you need there. That sprint track, they tend to sort of head towards the stands rail. Clarendon House certainly did that day and he won. Valiant Force, he didn't run a bad race, only beaten 2 lengths over what was probably an inadequate 5 furlongs now. I think he's proving that he can stay further. He is a big price. He might get the race run to suit. The only reason really to put me off is just he hasn't been to Newcastle before, and his runs on the Tapeta have not been as good as they've been on the Polytrack at Dundalk. And I just felt like maybe the certain reasons that got him beat at Southall, and it was just too much of a stretch. If you see market confidence for him, you might think that there's a case there, but don't forget, he's rated 108 according to the Pre-HA handicapper, so he's got to concede weight all round.
Yeah.
And if we were to look at him and compare him to Storm Star, he's got to give £13 to Storm Star. That's a lot of weight to concede in a race like this.
Yeah, for sure. And the bowling team obviously in great form as well. All right, I'm with you again on Storm Star. This brings us to the Bet UK all-weather sprint handicap over the 6 furlongs. Again, max field of 14. Marshman, I think, is really interesting here. He's joint favourite at 5-1 with Diligent Harry, who I really, really like. I'm just not sure if he's the horse for this race. He gets first-time blinkers for the Cox team. Heathcliff 13-2, 5,000-1 for the Easter Beast, and Oisin Murphy 7s, and We Never Stop 7s as well. Who are you with?
Oh God, this is hideous. This is a hideous race to try and work out. Sometimes every card, I don't know, low grade all weather wouldn't really be my sort of thing. But I do sometimes look at these all weather sprints and think, just throw the balls up. Anything to win this. I'd kind of be a little bit against Marshman. I think he's clearly the best horse in the race. He's achieved the most, but he's not not unbeatable. Do I want to back Marshman carrying top weight? I'm not so sure. I quite like We Never Stop. I think he's relatively unexposed on the all-weather. 2 wins from 7 starts. They've kind of been fighting around with testing him over 6 furlongs at different tracks, and they've been to Chelmsford, they've been to Wolverhampton. Not really sure he's particularly keen on going around the bend, but he was much better at Southall last time. What helped him at Southall is that he had a good pace to aim at. It came nicely. He got the better of Rohan in the closing stages. Ran on really well. Thought the way he saw out his race was good. I think he's coming to the boil. This race is almost certainly going to be run to suit. There's a lot of what I would describe as deadwood in here. There are big prices that probably haven't got a hope in hell. But when you get a big field like this in a sprint, everyone will be jockeying for position. So you're going to get a nice strong pace. He's got an awkward draw in stall 2, being out on the wing. There's a decision to be made by Shane Gray as to where he goes. But I'd like to see him try and use a bit of early speed and just sit 2 lengths off the pace. Perhaps they've got to come at some point. I thought he was quite an interesting each-way bet because I think he's still improving. Okay.
I think Marshman's going to take a lot of stopping in that race, but I absolutely respect your opinion, which brings us to the 704, the 407 even, the Bet UK All-Weather Easter Classic Middle Distance Handicap. Again, max field of 14. Roger Varian's got the favourite just about with Glenn Buck from Old Harvonian. Could he teach him a lesson? Sorry, I'll get my coat.
Wow.
I'm blaming whatever bloody flu it is I've picked up or whatever bug it is. It has zapped me. I'm amazed that I can even talk. Oisin Murphy 4-1, Smart Hero a 5-1 shot. It's another competitive race.
Yeah, it is a competitive race. There's a bit more form to get stuck into here. I mean, Glenn Buck is favourite, and fair enough, he's won 4 of his 5 starts, but he's also a 6-year-old. It's not like this is a straightforward horse that's kind of been easy to trade, and I felt the race he won at Southall kind of fell into his lap a little bit. I'm not sure I'd really want to be getting stuck. I toyed with the idea of putting up Hooking, who is just a proverbial all-weather specialist owned by Antoine Griezmann and Philippe de Couz. But Hooking has run really well at Cannes-sur-Mer in the last few years. And he's just not finished out his race quite as well this year. Now, maybe he bumped into No Lunch, who's gone on to run pretty well at Meydan and looks a decent tool. But he's had goes at this before, Hooking, and I'm not sure I'm sold on him. Old Herodian's definitely interesting. Balding and Murphy team have, as you said, have such a great record here. I mean, he bolted up last time. He had tons in hand. Everything went wrong. He had to wait for the gaps and he just sliced through. But I think Old Herodian has reached his level at a mark of 98. Whereas I think Smart Hero is still improving. And I've been really impressed with the way Smart Hero's run and won his last 2 starts. Took 5 goes to get off the mark, but they've stepped him up in trip on the all-weather and it's really, really helped him. Good final furlongs and the top speed of 36.45 miles an hour when he won at Wolverhampton. They went up to 9 furlongs. He ran the fastest final 2 furlongs again. Everything in the data I've looked at suggests that he's actually been sort of crying out maybe to have a crack at 10 furlongs. I thought this would be run to suit. I think there's still another 7 or 8 in him, and I don't think that's the case with everything else. So an each way price of 5 to 1 or bigger would be very fair.
Okay. And that is the price that you're getting right now about Smart Hero, who's going for the hat-trick, Sony Shamadal, out of an Ifraj mare. To our final race on All-Weather Finals Day, the Bet UK All-Weather Championships Marathon Handicap. Remember the Breeders' Cup Marathon? 14 of the 20 runners, headed by Roaring Legend, is the 3-1 favourite from Wonder Legend. 4-1, what's your bets? Duke of Oxford, 11-2. Plague Le Havre for the Balding Murphy combination, 11-2, and Tribal Star for Adrian McGuinness is a 12-1 shot. Pick the bones out of this one.
Well, I think this is quite obvious, isn't it? Roaring Legend just wins.
Yeah, 4 in a row. 4 in a row.
You know, Ollie Murphy must be tearing his hair out and going, I was getting looked to be reasonably progressive. He went slightly off the ball for me. We switched into Hugo Palmer. He's won 3 on the spin on the all-weather. I could have done that. But actually, to be fair to Hugo Palmer, he's really found the key to this horse. The last 3 wins have been very impressive. He won over course and distance in January by, a relatively easy victory over Wise Eagle. And then he went to Lingfield. That race was run at an absolute speed, was 115%. It was one of those 2-mile races where they sort of plodded round to the top of the hill. And then all the jockeys went, oh, crap, we got to finish. Right, let's start riding. But the good thing is really, Roaring Legend did is he just quickened away. I mean, he had a top speed that day of 41.14 miles an hour. Any horse that can clock above 40 miles an hour in a 2-mile marathon race is going to be lethal because most of these are struggling for pace. And, horses don't run over 2 miles on the flat unless they're too slow for everything else. Roaring Legend has got a turn of foot. This is going to be run to suit. It's just one of those weird quirks of the system that jumps horses have quite a good record in this race. The Twiston Davis has won it. I think, was it Earl of the Cotswolds or Top of the Cotswolds? Something of the Cotswolds won this for them. And I just think Roaring Legend has got experience. And he wasn't a bad jumps horse. He won a couple of races over hurdles. He's really taken to the all-weather this winter. He looks to be a rapidly improving horse. Everything tells me this is going to be run to suit. And I just think he'll have far too much for them in the home straight.
Earl of the Cotswolds. You were right the first time.
Earl of the Cotswolds, yeah.
I agree with you, by the way. I think Roaring Legend will make it 4 from 4 on the all-weather. Which brings me to, is there a really compelling each-way multiple for you on the day?
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, we probably have an each... let's have an each-way Trixie, shall we? Each-way Trixie.
We'll make it a patent. We'll make it a patent.
Okay, we'll make it a patent. Well, we'd have to have Beaumark in the Bowden Stakes because I think Beaumark could be a Dante horse, in which case he's got to be winning this all-weather gibberish. He just has to be. He has to win. He must win on the all-weather. He's got to win on the all-weather.
Yeah.
If the Gosdens genuinely think this horse could win a Dante, he's got to be winning this race on the all-weather. And I love this debut. I thought he did so much right there that he would have to go in. The second one that I'd really want to put in, kind of the captain of the team, would be Cloud Cover in the Fillies and Mares. I just see being my nap in the meeting. I don't think there's a filly or mare in there capable of beating her if she gets a run. And then we would finish with Roaring Legend in the marathon for the patent. I think that's a pretty fair attack on the day. Probably I'd have a win patent and then just the each way treble.
Yeah, we're getting
Cover the stakes.
4-1, 6-4, 4-1, 4-1, 6-4, 3-1, in and around that.
Yeah,
seems fair to me.
Yeah,
it's a pretty useful Easter Good Friday, if you ask me. Why we're being subjected to other all-weather racing on all-weather finals day is just completely beyond me. I remember the first running of this, and it was like, should we be having racing on Good Friday? And then I remembered I was commentating on the Irish Poker Open, so couldn't really be saying anything about anything on that day up in the Burlington. So it wasn't like I don't know if we should be doing this, But why there are 3 all-weather meetings on Good Friday, I don't get it, personally. We will talk to you hopefully on Tuesday.
Yes, we will. There is one. I wouldn't normally flag up the other all-weather meetings, but actually, fair play to Chelmsford. They've put on a 75 grand conditions race. Really, really good 3-year-old contest this. You've got the unbeaten Sky Majesty for the Haggis team. He's 3 from 3. Won a Group 2 at Shanty in October. Rocks up here at even money to beat Andrew Balding's Jouncey and Andesite. Whether you want to take even money for anything running around Chelmsford, I'm not sure. But I thought it was really interesting that William Haggis and Tom Marquand were going to Chelmsford with this horse. It just fascinates me. Point horse like him, rated 110. Horse like her, my apologies if you're Filly, rated 110 in a 75 grand race on the all-weather on Good Friday. She has got to be worth watching, and she could be a springer for some of these markets.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Andesite was considered by Carl Burke to be one of the best horses he had last season. And he bolted up against Yamo B there on debut, who Rixie fancied at the weekend, and then doesn't come back until he returns to York in August, where he gets within 6 3/4 of a length of Cool Hoof Luke, who had been beaten by Amori City prior to that, and we haven't seen him since. And now he's going to rock up to this race. If that fella's any way ready, he'll go close.
See, like I say, this is actually a really good race. It's kind of slipped under the radar with all the focus on Newcastle. 4:30 at Chelmsford on the Friday, but 75 grand in the pot. You wouldn't see too many 3-year-olds rated 110 running at Chelmsford.
No.
And actually, several of those in behind have got group form. Before you switch off the TV and start eating Easter eggs, it's probably worth just keeping an eye on this 4:30 because this could be a good race.
Yeah, I completely agree. So Sky have got because ITV Racing's not for us, so we won't be watching that.
How many times are we going to wheel that out?
Well, he said it, so we're just going to listen to him.
Yeah.
We're just going to listen to him. That's obviously what happened with the Grand National viewers. So Sky have got Newcastle, and Racing TV have got Chelmsford. That's what we'll do.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, I'd nearly be tempted to. Am I seeing 7-1 about Andesite? I'd nearly be tempted to have a shot at the 7-1. Yeah. Your one is far more likely to win. She's 3 from 3, and Tom Marquand is rocking up there with William Haggis instead of going to the all-weather finals. So that's intriguing. But just keep that, and it's Jamie Spencer. So do we want to trust in Spencer? But just bear that Carl Burke horse in mind. We like Jamie Spencer; he's a class act. But anyway, keep Andesite in mind. Keep him in mind. All right, that's it. Adam, have a great Easter.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. Good luck. Let's hope we get some winners Good Friday. Pay off the Easter egg bill.
Hopefully. There's an Easter egg. I feel so awful. There's an Easter egg that I got from my little cousin. I have a funny feeling I'm just going to take it on her. Because I nothing tastes right. I feel rubbish. I think the only thing that's going to work is if I just down a few hot whiskeys, and I might just get stuck into that Easter egg. Sorry, Bella. I might just take the Easter egg you didn't know about. We're back on Good Friday. I'll be on Sky Sports Racing tomorrow afternoon, actually. And we are back, assuming I can talk. And then we are back doing the Irish Grand National meeting at Ferry House and the Champion Hurdle, the one that really matters. in Plumpton. So we're going to preview all of that for you on Friday morning / Friday afternoon on the Final Furlong podcast from Adam Mills and me, Emmet Kennedy. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have you smashed like yet? Did you smash the like button on this episode? Of course you did. You wouldn't watch this and not smash the like button. That would be rude. So obviously you did. And you've obviously hit the subscribe button as well. Because it would also be very rude to watch this and not hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again very, very soon from Adam Mills and me, Emmet Kennedy. Look after yourself and each other. God bless.
The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet.